take us through your experience with the radiation and even just like first getting the mask and how you managed each step?
Yeah, so radiation was definitely the most challenging. It was very difficult, but I was very optimistic in the beginning. I remember getting fitted for the mask and joking around, and you basically lay on a table and they put a mask. It's very taut, very snug. It's a mesh mask, and it pins to the table to hold your shoulders and head so that you don't move during radiation. So you get fitted for a mask, and then they hang your mask on the wall, and that's your mask every time you come in. I remember thinking I was going to drive myself to all 35 treatments. I laugh thinking about that now. The first week I drove myself to all 5 treatments. The first week is really not a big problem because it's really a cumulative effect, and it doesn't really start to hit you until maybe the end of week 2, when you really start to feel it. And then from week 3 on, it gets harder. But you definitely just take it. I counted them down. I had 35. You check them off. You make a game out of it. I would go in and I'd be very nauseous from chemo. And they would always tell me, because they all have to leave the room, obviously there's radiation in the room, so they go behind a screen and they're watching you, and they said, if you're ever going to throw up, just raise your hand and we'll run in, because you're pinned to the table. So the last thing you want to do is obviously vomit into this mask. When you've had your final session, they told me it'll be around 2 weeks after your last session that you'll start to feel better. And that was like accurate to the day. I started to dramatically feel better when I hit 2 weeks. You're going to feel sick for a while, but you feel much better 2 weeks out, and it just gets easier over time.
I want to back up just a minute. When you're lying there and you're going through the radiation session, do you feel anything?
No, you don't feel a thing when the radiation's happening. It's painless. There's no sensation. You're just, it's burning your neck and your throat on the inside. And so I remember I had my whole neck looked like I got burned, and it was peeling like a really bad sunburn. A few weeks after treatment ended, I remember one of the doctors said that, just imagine that's what the inside of your throat looks like as well. So the pain from it was never really too intense, and I think a lot of that had to do with I was on Dilaudid, which I think helped a lot. I had a fentanyl patch. I don't remember it being super painful. I mean, it's painful, but not. It's not something you feel. It doesn't hurt when you do it. The biggest issue, I think, is feeling nauseous while it's happening, and having to. If someone is claustrophobic, they may have a more difficult time, and I would certainly talk with the staff and your doctors about how to approach that. It lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. I think that'll depend on whatever your specific targeted treatment is.
Okay. So during the time that you were having radiation, you also were getting chemo. Can you just explain how many doses of cisplatin that you had, and how that was coordinated with your radiation and managed at the same time?
Yeah, so I had 3 large doses of cisplatin, and from what I understand, some people get it once a week. Some people, the way that they prescribe it is different for everyone. But I had 3 large doses separated by 3 weeks. So after the first, or after every dose, you feel very nauseous for about a week. You're going to be nauseous throughout from both radiation and chemo, but that first week after that treatment, for me, because I had such a large dose, was very challenging. The chemo, when it's happening, you don't feel anything. Again, I remember my first dose, and I was like, that's fine. I don't feel anything. And then that night, I started to feel the side effects. And for chemo, they gave me, I was on Zofran, which is an anti-nausea med, and they were switching me between Compazine and Reglan, which I was having a hard time with nausea. So not so much throwing up. I mean, I did throw up a lot, but it was more just constant nausea. They also gave me dexamethasone, which is a steroid. They had given it to me intravenously, and it seemed to help a little. So I would always ask for that when I was in oncology. And so they prescribed pills. Sometimes I look forward to just being there because people are caring for you.
And you know what? Even though you're going through this treatment, it's going to make you better.
Yeah.
Makes you
Right.
feel better.